What's good, YouTube? It's Adam from My Music Mobile. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're gonna go ahead and remake from scratch Ace Trumpets by Clipse. The tempo for this one is 71 beats per minute, and the track is produced by Pharrell Williams. So there are two sections in this track. Let's go ahead and start off with the intro, which is section 1. So we're gonna kick things off with the choirs. So we're gonna bring in Logic's Alchemy. And we're gonna go ahead and bring in a preset called Aurora Haze. We'll stack a couple different choirs here. This will be the first one. So this track is basically a 2-chord progression track, loop throughout the entire track. So we're gonna take those 2 chords, and we're gonna go ahead and duplicate that over the 4 bars, and we'll just stretch it out over the 4 bars. Next, let's go ahead and shape up the sound. So we're gonna open up Logic's Alchemy, and the first thing that we're gonna do is just pull down the attacks. We're gonna take off the delay, we don't need it here. And then we're just gonna make this a little darker with some EQ. So we're gonna pull up our EQ, and we're just gonna take out some of the top end. We'll just put a shelf here. And we'll take out some of that low end bass in there. All right, next let's go ahead and stack up this choir. Create a new software instrument track. We'll go over to our library browser. We'll go over to orchestral. We'll go over to choir, and we'll go over to the classical female ensemble. We're gonna use the preset that just loads up. We're just gonna turn off these buses here and copy down the same pattern. And then for the last choir stack, we're gonna go ahead and load in Logic's Alchemy. And we're going to bring in a preset. It is called choir-female-EE. So this one right over here. We're gonna go ahead and turn the performance over to the soft pad. And let's go ahead and copy down this. It gives it more of like an ambient vibe to it. Take a little bit more at the top here. All right, and then we're gonna treat these choirs as one. So we're gonna stack all these tracks, go Shift-Command-G to group them together. We'll open up an EQ, and we're gonna make it a little darker here. Pull that back a bit. And then we're gonna go ahead and bring in some reverb with Logic's Chroma Verb. I'm gonna bring in a preset I'd like to use, the presets effects cave. Just gonna pull up the dry. So that is our choir stack. And then we're gonna go ahead and bring in Logic's Alchemy, and we're gonna bring in more of like a melodic choir thing, like a staccato. So let's go ahead and bring in that preset. We're gonna go ahead and go choir, female, and it's gonna be this one right over here. Let's go and draw on that pattern and then get to some sound shaping. That's going to duplicate this over, bring it over to the correct bar, and then we're going to focus in on the latter 2 bars. And then over here, we just get 2 hits here. And these are a little quicker. All right, next let's open up Alchemy and get to some sound shaping. So the first thing that we're gonna do is gonna bring the performance over to brighter. Bring down the delay, bring down the reverb. And I want this more plucky, so I'm gonna bring down the attack. All right, so that's the melodic portion of this. So we're gonna bring in the other choirs. Let's just unsolo this all. All right, next up is an instrument that happens in the background. It's a Glockenspiel. So let's go ahead and create a new software track. Over to our library browser. We're gonna go over to Mallet, and we'll bring in the toy Glockenspiel preset. Let's go ahead and draw on that pattern. And that pattern just basically repeats itself. So let's just bring that to there. And this happens in the background. Next up, we're gonna bring in some like bell pad type stuff. So we'll create a new software instrument track. We'll go over to Logic's Alchemy. And we're gonna bring in a preset here. The preset is called Warm Bell Pad. So this right over here, we're gonna go over to the Rich Bell Keys Performance. And what we're gonna do here is just draw in the pattern. This only happens right at the end of the pattern. So once we put it in arrangement, it's gonna go, happens at the end. Actually, what I'm gonna do is just drag this down. All right, we're gonna chop it up there. And then we're gonna chop up these chords hitting on every quarter note. So we're gonna go hold down the Option key and cut. Let's just make sure my right click is on cut. And you'll see it's going to cut all those notes so I don't have to chop it up on myself. All right, so I'm just gonna bring that in. I'm gonna take out some of the low end stuff. Just focus on that. It's really just in the background. Bring that up in volume a bit. That sort of just builds you into the next section. But before we get to there, we gotta add in some drums and a guitar. For the drums, we're gonna go over to our library browser and bring in the drum kit that I put together for this remake, the Ace Trumpets drum kit, which includes the guitar. So maybe we start off with the guitar. It's right over here. I'm gonna bring it up here. I couldn't find a close guitar sample in Logic, so I just sampled it directly from the track. I took one note and then turned it into an instrument, brought that sample into Logic's quick sampler, and that is the instrument that we're going to work off of. So basically the melody follows the staccato choir performance. So if I go ahead and just bring this down, it's going to sound like this. All right, now the drums. So we're gonna start off with the kick on for the intro. So go open up a pattern region and just put it on the 1 every 16 steps. All right, then you can see there are a couple perks here. So let's go ahead and draw those in. All right, now the second perk. cowbell. Copy that over and make sure we're locked up. Let's make sure we're locked to the grid on 16. So that's section A. Then we get into section B, which is that big synth. This is create a new software instrument track. We're going to go over to a preset here. We're going to go over to synthesizer. We're going to go over to classics. And we're going to go over to the Super Saw Synth Inferno, or Super Saw Inferno. And what we're going to do here is we're going to copy down the same pattern from the beginning. And we're going to get this. So this top E is just going to keep repeating itself. So we're going to bring that over and bring that over. Maybe we'll bring it down 1 octave. All right, now let's get to some sound design. So we're going to open up Logic's Alchemy. And the first thing that we're going to do, which will drastically change up the sound, is we're going to turn the performance from huge over to bright saws. Bring down the reverb. And then you need that gliding sound that you hear in the original track. So for that, we're going to go over to the Advanced tab, and we're just pull up our glide all the way up to 100% here. And then we'll get to some sound design. So let's go and close that out. First, we're going to bring up an EQ. I'm just going to cut out some of the low end here. I'm going to shelf out some of the top end. And I'll boost the mids. And then we'll bring in another EQ. So for that EQ, I'm going to go ahead and go to the EQ, go to the Vintage EQ collection, the Tube EQ. And we're going to bring in a preset here. It's found under the, it's like a vocal preset, but we're going to use it for the synth here. Kind of brightens it up. Then we'll bring in some distortion to the sound. So we'll go Control Command P and we'll bring in Logic's Chroma Glow. And for this, we're going to go over to a bass preset and we're going to go over to the low pusher preset here. This is back to the pitching. Then we're going to spread this out so it's a little bit wider. So for that, we're going to go over to our drop down menu over here. We're going to go over to imaging and we'll go over to stereo spread. And we're just going to bring in the light HF or high frequency spread preset. Nice and wider. All right, next, the drums. So let's start off with something easy. We'll start off with the hi-hat. It's just a straight 2-step pattern. Except for the velocity, it's going to kind of change as it plays along, just to give it some movement. And then we'll get to the snare. Next, the kick. So over here, we get like a little bit of a roll. So we're gonna go over to our brush tool. Actually, we'll go over to our brush tool here, and we're gonna go over to 32 steps, and we're just gonna brush that in. All right, let's go back to our pencil tool, tap that, and we're gonna get one over here and one over here. And that just basically repeats itself. So let's bring that over. And then we have the 808. So let's go ahead and drag down this same pattern over here. And the 808 is just gonna follow the kick pattern, except we are controlling the length of these notes. So we're gonna go ahead and just drag this out a bit. Make sure we're in the correct octave. And in the right key. So these all have to be longer. So that's a little longer. This is going to get pushed up one. And this is just going to get dragged out here. And then what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and duplicate this over. Let's go and play with the pattern. So at the end here, we don't get this little roll here. We just get another kick hit. So this is going to get pushed back, and this will get pushed back over here. So we go out from section A into section B, and that kind of repeats itself for the entire arrangement. So that's pretty much it. Next, I'm going to go ahead and mix it, arrange it, and when we come back, we'll take a listen to how everything sounds together.
This is culturally inappropriate.
Trumpets by Clipse remade in Logic Pro. For the Logic Pro users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you, place it as a download link below this video. If you don't use Logic, I got your back as well. I'm going to export all the MIDI stamps, audio stamps, and of course include the drum kit that you heard in this remake. You can find that entire playback down below the like button as well. If you do have any questions on this or just want to chat or have any suggestions for future videos, let's go chat down below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Later.